At some point in life, each of us has been hurt emotionally, mentally, maybe even physically by someone we trusted, cared for, or expected more from. The pain of betrayal, rejection, or cruelty can leave lasting scars. But the question isn't just why people hurt us. The real question is, how do we respond when they do? We have a choice. We can either let pain make us bitter, or we can let it make us better. Dealing with those who hurt us isn't about pretending it didn't happen. It's not about suppressing the pain or seeking revenge. It's about finding a way to process the hurt, learn from it, and move forward with strength and clarity. So today, I want to share with you 7 key principles that can help you deal with those who have hurt you, not with weakness, but with wisdom. 1. Acknowledge the pain honestly. Expanded. One of the most important steps in dealing with those who hurt us is to acknowledge the pain honestly. This may sound simple, but it's often one of the hardest things to do. Why? Because we live in a world that often tells us to get over it, stay strong, or keep moving. And while resilience is important, real healing doesn't begin with ignoring what happened. It begins with facing it head on. When someone hurts us, whether through words, betrayal, neglect, or abuse, it leaves a mark. And sometimes, in order to appear strong or unaffected, we bury that pain deep within us. We tell ourselves it's not a big deal or I'm fine, even when we're not. But the truth is, unspoken pain doesn't disappear. It just finds other ways to show up. It might resurface as anger, anxiety, depression, trust issues, or even physical illness. Acknowledging your pain isn't a sign of weakness. It's a powerful act of courage. It means giving yourself permission to feel what you feel. It means saying, yes, that did hurt me, that broke something in me, that changed how I see myself or others. And that honesty is not only valid, it's necessary. You can't heal a wound you pretend isn't there. Think about it like this. If you broke a bone, you wouldn't just walk it off and hope it heals on its own. You'd go to a doctor, get an X-ray, maybe even a cast, and you'd give it time to mend properly. Emotional wounds deserve the same level of care and recognition. When you acknowledge your hurt, you're not being dramatic or overreacting. You're giving yourself the attention and care you deserve. And here's something else. You don't need anyone else to validate your pain. Sometimes the person who hurt you won't apologize. Sometimes they won't even admit what they did. That doesn't mean your pain isn't real. Don't let someone else's denial erase your experience. Your truth matters, and it starts with you honoring it. Speak it, write about it, share it with someone you trust, or just sit with it quietly and say to yourself, I was hurt. I didn't deserve that, and it's okay to feel this. Because only when we tell the truth about our pain can we begin to release it. Only then can we start to rebuild ourselves, not from a place of shame or silence, but from a place of truth, self-respect, and strength. 2. Set boundaries. Expanded. After acknowledging your pain, one of the most crucial steps in healing and self-protection is learning to set boundaries and to do so without guilt. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are lines drawn to protect your peace, your energy, and your well-being. They are an essential part of any healthy relationship, especially after someone has hurt you. Often, when we're hurt by others, especially people we love or care deeply about, we struggle with what to do next. Do we cut them off completely? Do we try to pretend like nothing happened? Do we let them stay in our lives and hope they change? These questions are complicated, but here's the truth. You have every right to decide who has access to you emotionally, mentally, and physically. And setting boundaries isn't about punishing others. It's about honoring yourself. Too many people feel obligated to maintain relationships that continuously cause them pain out of fear, loyalty, or social pressure. We tell ourselves things like, maybe it wasn't that bad, or they didn't mean it, or I don't want to seem unforgiving. But the more we ignore the need for boundaries, the more we invite repeated harm. Setting boundaries may look different for everyone. For some, it means reducing contact with someone who continually disrespects or manipulates them. For others, it might mean having honest conversations where you clearly express what behaviors are unacceptable going forward. In more serious cases, it may even mean cutting off contact entirely, not out of hate, but out of self-respect. And here's something that often gets overlooked. You don't have to justify your boundaries to people who cross them. If someone hurt you and can't understand why you need space, distance, or change, that's a reflection of their lack of accountability, not a flaw in your decision. Boundaries are also about consistency. It's one thing to say, "I need space," and another to reinforce that space when the other person tries to cross it. That takes strength. That takes clarity. But remember, people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries, even if they don't agree with them. Another important aspect is setting internal boundaries, the ones you set with yourself. This could mean not allowing your thoughts to spiral around the hurt constantly. It could mean stopping yourself from rereading old messages, stalking their social media, or reliving conversations that bring you pain. You have to protect your emotional energy by choosing where you place your focus and how much access the memory of that person has to your mind. Setting boundaries is not about building a fortress, it's about building a safe space where you can heal, grow, and choose your connections with intention. It's saying, "I matter enough to protect myself," and once you learn that, you don't settle for anything less. 3. Don't retaliate expanded when someone hurts us. Our first instinct is often to hurt them back. It's human nature, a natural response to pain, betrayal, or injustice. Whether it's through harsh words, cold silence, gossip, or calculated actions, retaliation can feel like a way to regain control, to even the score, or to show the other person how it feels to be wounded. But here's the truth: retaliation doesn't bring real healing. It might offer a momentary sense of satisfaction, but it often leaves us feeling more empty, more bitter, and more entangled in the very pain we're trying to escape. Choosing not to retaliate doesn't mean you're weak. In fact, it's the opposite. It takes incredible strength to rise above the desire for revenge and choose a response rooted in self-respect rather than reaction. Because when you retaliate, you become like the person who hurt you, and worse, you keep yourself emotionally tied to them. You continue playing a role in their story instead of writing your own. Retaliation keeps the cycle of hurt spinning. One person hurts another, and then that person retaliates, and the pain just keeps bouncing back and forth. Generationally, emotionally, spiritually, someone has to break the cycle, and it takes real maturity to be the one who says, "This ends with me." Think about it this way: every action you take in response to pain is either building you or breaking you. When you retaliate, you're not directing your energy toward healing, you're pouring fuel on the fire. Instead of focusing on your own growth, you're focused on someone else's downfall. That doesn't mean you don't hold people accountable. There's a difference between accountability and revenge. You can speak your truth, set firm boundaries, and even walk away all without stooping to the level of cruelty or spite. In fact, one of the most powerful forms of accountability is to live well in spite of what someone did to you. Some people won't understand how deeply they hurt you until they see that they no longer have power over your peace, that you didn't need to break them down, you simply walked away and built yourself up. That's real strength, and let's not forget, retaliating doesn't just affect the other person, it also changes you. It can harden your heart, distort your values, and plant seeds of bitterness that take root in areas of your life that had nothing to do with the original hurt. The pain spreads. What started as a wound inflicted by someone else becomes a self-inflicted injury. So instead of retaliating, pause, reflect, ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be on the other side of this hurt? Because your response is shaping your character. Your silence, your distance, your calm, these can speak louder than any act of revenge ever could. 4. Practice empathy, but don't excuse expanded when someone hurts us deeply. The last thing we want to do is understand them. Empathy may feel impossible or even unfair. Why should we try to see things from the perspective of someone who caused us pain? But here's the paradox. Sometimes, understanding why someone did what they did can help us let go of the emotional weight they placed on our shoulders. It doesn't mean we excuse the behavior. It doesn't mean we pretend it didn't hurt. It simply means we're choosing to look at the situation through a wider lens, one that includes context, not just impact. Empathy is the ability to say, I see that this person may have been acting out of their own wounds, ignorance, fear, or dysfunction. It's recognizing that people often hurt others because they themselves are hurting, insecure, or emotionally immature. That doesn't make what they did right, but it can help you understand that their actions were a reflection of them, not a reflection of your worth. This kind of emotional clarity is liberating. It allows you to stop internalizing the pain. It allows you to stop replaying the situation, asking, "What's wrong with me? Why did they treat me like that?" Instead, you start asking, "What must have been going on in them that made them behave that way?" It doesn't undo the damage, but it takes the blame off your back and puts the responsibility where it belongs. Empathy also helps break the illusion that the person who hurt you is powerful. When you see them for what they really are, flawed, struggling, maybe even unaware of the damage they caused, you begin to reclaim your strength. You move from being a passive recipient of pain to an active observer of someone else's brokenness. But here's a crucial boundary. Empathy is not an excuse. You can understand someone's past, their trauma, or their circumstances without allowing them to continue harming you. You can recognize that someone is emotionally wounded and still choose to walk away. You can say, "I get where this behavior comes from and I still won't tolerate it." Too often, empathy is confused with tolerance. People stay in harmful relationships because they feel bad for the other person, or they understand why the person lashes out. But excusing bad behavior in the name of compassion is a form of self-betrayal. Real empathy has boundaries. It says, "I understand you, but I won't abandon myself to accommodate you." It says, "I can see your humanity and still protect my peace." It says, "I choose kindness, but not at the expense of my dignity." Practicing empathy, when done right, isn't about softening the truth. It's about seeing the truth more clearly with both heart and mind engaged. It's choosing to be wise instead of resentful, discerning instead of dismissive. It's recognizing that people are complex, but your healing matters more than their excuses. 5. Forgiveness is for you, not them. Expanded forgiveness. It's a word that's often misunderstood and frequently resisted. When someone hurts us, especially in a deep and personal way, forgiveness can feel like letting them off the hook, like saying what they did was acceptable. But that's not what real forgiveness is. In truth, forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. It's about your peace, your healing, and your freedom. Holding on to resentment feels justified at first. Anger can feel powerful. It feels like a shield that protects us from being vulnerable again. We may think, "If I forgive them, they win." Or worse, "If I forgive them, it means what they did didn't matter." But what we don't always realize is that holding on to anger, bitterness, or the desire for revenge doesn't punish the other person, it punishes us. Think of unforgiveness like carrying a heavy bag of stones everywhere you go. Each stone represents an offense, a cruel word, a broken promise, a betrayal. You lug it around every day, and over time it wears you down. It weighs on your heart, your thoughts, and your energy. And yet, the person who hurt you may have moved on with their life, completely unaware that you're still carrying the weight of what they did. Forgiveness is how you put the bag down. It's how you release yourself from being emotionally tied to what someone else did. It's not a one-time event. Often, it's a process. It may take days, months, or even years, but it starts with a decision, a choice to no longer allow your identity or your inner peace to be defined by someone else's actions. And no, forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean returning to the same relationship or trusting that person again. Forgiveness does not mean you excuse the behavior, deny the pain, or invite further harm. Those are myths. True forgiveness is acknowledging what happened, feeling the full weight of it, and then choosing to no longer let it control you. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is someone who never apologized. Someone who never took responsibility. Someone who never even saw how deeply they wounded you. That's where forgiveness becomes not a response to their change, but a gift you give to yourself. You say, "Even though you never said sorry, even though you never made it right, I will not let this live in me anymore. I deserve peace." Forgiveness is an act of self-liberation. It untangles your soul from the past and makes room for joy, for clarity, for growth. It doesn't erase the pain, but it gives you a chance to live beyond it, to reclaim your power, not by defeating your enemies, but by healing your own heart. And here's something powerful to remember. You can forgive someone in silence. They never have to know. You don't have to tell them. You don't have to welcome them back into your life. Forgiveness happens in the quiet spaces in your thoughts, in your prayers, in those moments when you feel the weight of anger lifting, slowly but surely. It is not always easy. In fact, sometimes it feels impossible. But every step toward forgiveness, even the smallest one, is a step toward freedom. 6. Learn the lesson. Don't repeat the cycle. Expanded pain is not meaningless. As much as we wish we could avoid being hurt, every wound carries a lesson, a message meant to teach us something about ourselves, about others, or about life. But in order to learn that lesson, we have to be willing to step back and examine the experience not just as a source of suffering, but as an opportunity for growth. Too often, people get stuck in a cycle of repeating the same painful patterns, getting involved with similar toxic people, tolerating the same disrespect, or ignoring the same red flags, and they wonder, why does this keep happening to me? But until we stop and ask, what am I supposed to learn from this? We run the risk of turning a moment of pain into a lifelong pattern. Learning the lesson doesn't mean blaming yourself for what happened. It's not about taking responsibility for someone else's choices. It's about taking responsibility for your own awareness going forward. It's asking, what did this experience teach me about my boundaries? About my values, about the kind of love, respect, or friendship I deserve. Sometimes the lesson is about trusting your gut, listening to that inner voice that said something felt off, but you ignored it. Sometimes the lesson is about recognizing how much you gave to someone who never truly appreciated or reciprocated your energy. And sometimes the lesson is just about seeing your own strength, realizing that you survived something hard and you're still here, wiser than before. But here's the key: don't waste the pain. If you go through something difficult and come out on the other side exactly the same, still carrying the same habits, trusting the same types of people, ignoring the same warning signs, then the pain was wasted. The lesson was missed, and often life will give you a similar test again, not to punish you, but to give you another chance to learn and choose differently. Learning the lesson means doing the inner work. It may involve therapy, reflection, journaling, or honest conversations with yourself. It means taking an honest inventory of what you allowed, what you ignored, and what you need to change. It means asking the hard questions: why did I stay? What was I afraid of? What do I need to heal so I don't end up in this situation again? And once you've learned the lesson, you must apply it. Growth only happens when awareness turns into action. That might mean walking away sooner next time. It might mean speaking up instead of staying silent. It might mean being more selective with your trust, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Learning the lesson also empowers you to break generational and emotional cycles. Maybe you grew up seeing dysfunction and mistreatment and believed that was normal. Maybe you were conditioned to tolerate pain just to feel loved or accepted. But once you learn better, you have the power to do better and to stop passing the same pain onto yourself or others. There's something incredibly powerful about looking back on a hurtful experience and saying, it changed me, but not in a way that broke me. It made me smarter, stronger, more self-aware. That's how we honor our pain, by letting it refine us, not define us. 7. Heal at your own pace. Expanded healing is not a race. It's not a checklist you can rush through, and it's definitely not a straight line. One of the most compassionate things you can do for yourself after being hurt is to give yourself permission to heal at your own pace, without comparison, pressure, or apology. In today's fast, moving world, there's often this unspoken expectation that you should bounce back quickly. People might say things like, "Aren't you over that yet?" or "You need to move on." But the truth is, nobody else lives in your body, your mind, or your heart. Nobody else knows the full weight of what you experienced, what it meant to you, or how it changed you. So nobody else gets to decide when you should be okay. Healing takes time, and not just physical time, but emotional time. Sometimes you'll feel like you've made great progress, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, a memory will hit you like a wave. You might hear a song, see a photo, or pass by a familiar place, and the pain comes rushing back. That doesn't mean you're weak. That doesn't mean you've gone backwards. It just means you're human. Grief, disappointment, betrayal, these things don't follow a neat timeline. Healing is more like peeling layers. You deal with one layer of pain, and then as you grow, you discover another layer underneath that needs attention. Some days you'll feel strong, empowered, and clear-minded. Other days you may feel raw, vulnerable, and exhausted. That's normal. That's part of the process. And your healing journey won't look like anyone else's. What worked for someone else may not work for you, and that's okay. Some people heal through solitude, others need conversation. Some need to cry it out, others need to create through writing, music, or movement. Some heal through faith, through therapy, through nature. The method doesn't matter as much as your willingness to stay present with yourself and be honest about what you need. It's also important to know that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean the pain never happened. It means the pain no longer controls you. It means you can think about what happened without being emotionally hijacked by it. It means you can talk about it from a place of peace, not just pain. That kind of healing is deep, and it doesn't happen overnight. And sometimes the hardest part of healing is forgiving yourself for not seeing the red flags, for staying too long, for not speaking up. But you have to remember, you did the best you could with the awareness, strength, and resources you had at the time. Healing at your own pace means giving yourself grace for the parts of you that didn't know better and honoring the part of you that now does. You don't have to perform your healing for anyone. You don't owe the world a perfectly wrapped story with a happy ending. You don't have to minimize what you've been through to make others comfortable. Your healing is sacred. It's personal. It's yours. What matters most is that you keep going one step, one breath, one choice at a time. Not fast, not flawlessly, but faithfully.